Are you familiar with FBI Special Agents Kyle Seraphin?
I'm familiar with the name.
Is that yes?
I'm familiar with the name. Familiar with the name.
Let's bring in Kyle Seraphin. He's the FBI whistleblower who helped expose government censorship of our First Amendment rights.
Now, we only have this memo because a recently suspended FBI agent called Kyle Seraphin brought it to the public, and we're grateful that he did. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
He's the host of something that strangely is called the Kyle Seraphin Show.
Kyle Seraphin, I can't thank you enough for speaking out. I knew you guys were out there, and I knew it was just a matter of time, but you got a lot of guts putting your face and your name to this. You're doing a service on behalf of the American people, and from the bottom of my cracked and broken heart sometimes, thank you very much.
Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. What's going on with that? We had a little technical glitch. I told Steve I'm trying to run in under the wire because I actually rewatched the entire Kamala Harris episode. I'm going to be bringing you guys the top, 3 takeaways. There's no good takeaways here. You're going to be shocked. Today is Friday. It is August the 30th. It is a friendly Friday, and we'll be bringing on Steve Friend in just a second. So lest you were concerned that we had something happen, he's here, and we'll make it so. Let's see here. Let's do a quick ad read, and I'm going to give you the lay of the land here. The ad read is going to be for something that is very timely, I think, and salient because we are looking down the barrel of some weird stuff. So let's talk about My Patriot Supply. Guys, it is preparelikekyle.com. That's the website. You guys know that I think that things are going to get really weird here. I always tell you prepare or repair. That's why I rely on My Patriot Supply. Right now, they've got a deal on the Mega 3-month emergency food kit. That's the 2,500 calorie food kit. 33 different varieties of foods that are packed in there. That's the big key here is that you'll have some variety. They're going to have creamy flavored, chicken flavored rice. They're going to have old fashioned spaghetti, so on and so forth. The broccoli soup thing doesn't get me. You're going to get a protein pack bonus. It's got diced beef. You got chicken, beans, varieties, things like that. Okay, you're going to have multiple different snacks, 9 different foods, vegetables, so on. All of these are going to be in 2,500 calories per day. Most of the food kits you're going to see are 2,000 calories per day. So this is the boosted version of it. I think it's your duty to take care of your family. That's my duty as well. That's why I have a stack of this in my own closet. They'll last for up to 25 years. Go to preparelikekyle.com, preparelikekyle.com. Save $300 on the Mega 3-month emergency food kit. That's 90 days of just a little bit of space to breathe. The shipping is fast and free. That's a big deal to me as well. Preparelikekyle.com. Save that $300. Preparelikekyle.com. All right. Should we bring Steve on here? Steve, what are you doing over there? You're wearing red today?
I am, man. I feel like I'm a firearms instructor, but I'm excited because today is National Beach Day, which I thought was just every day in Florida. But I looked it up.
Where do you come up with this stuff? I'm just curious. Like, what is the Steve Friend official calendar check? Because the other day you told us it was pudding day.
I did. This is the week of celebration of Steve because this was my birthday week this week, and I kept that quiet because I'm not a big brag about my birthday guy until the most devastating event happened in my life and ruined my entire birthday. And that was my wife made me my favorite dish for dinner. And then she had to leave to go pick up my kid from football. And I took a phone call to make a radio appearance. And I walked away from the table only to return and find that my dog had eaten my entire turkey dinner. So my question to the group was, am I allowed to go and pull the 22 out and then just end this? Unanimously, we voted in the affirmative on that one for the PETA in the audience.
It's an old dog that is on its way out anyway, and now a turkey thieving dog.
12-year-old dog just decided to just go rogue one day. I mean, it's got that blood taste for turkey blood, and there's nothing to stop it.
Is there any quality of life for this dog? Like my dog she was like, I was on the edge of putting her down because she was suffering. Is your dog suffering or just creeping and stealing your turkey
He's
sandwich?
still stealth. He's able to, I guess, move agile like a ninja and do that while I was one room over and the other kid was in the room while it happened. And he actually felt really bad. He was like, Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't catch him doing it, but I was watching Godzilla on TV and I was getting excited and not paying attention.
I don't know about all this, man. Steve, the chat is not as excited as you might hope. I actually got to add the Rumble chat in here. The Rumble chat has said that you got Kristi Noem vibes going on. What do you think about that?
It was my birthday. I think that scar can't be undone. It's certainly unburdened by what has been at this point, because look, I can't get that turkey back no matter what. And I just view dogs as an extra at this point, because I made people in my life and I realized that I love them way more. And I'm not a dog dad, and I would not really shed a tear if the dog just disappeared.
You've created controversy, just so people can see on the screen. Someone said, buy the dog a bone. Another has said, put the dog down. Tack penis always coming in from the top ropes with the dark perspective. The argument has been made that 12 years is not that old. It depends on the size of the dog, folks.
It's the older the dog, he's probably older than Joe Biden.
Yeah. In dog years, that dog is ancient, right? What is it, 7? Is it supposed to be 7? Is that what they always used to tell us? Dog years are the dumbest concept I've ever heard, because they're trying to normalize a dog's lifespan against human lifespan when we know they won't even last your adult.
The person that came up with that has the stroller where they push their Yorkie.
You're kind of a sick puppy. This is kind of why we get along. I'm going to get into this fun thing. We came up. Did you watch the interview with Kamala Harris?
No, I don't have cable or an interest in watching her talk about her extraordinary achievements while not being an incumbent.
Okay, so I did something kind of weird. I watched a bunch of clips of it. Then I watched the entire thing, which was painful. The first, CNN broke it into 3 segments online. All right, so so people have an understanding. There's like an 8 and change minute segment, part 1, 8 and change minute, part 2. Those are both exclusively Kamala Harris questions. Then they did a 10-minute segment that is mostly Walz answering, at least the first 5-6 minutes of it, with Kamala Harris wrapping it up. And the wrap up was, there's been a viral picture of your, I think they said grand niece. I don't actually know what that is, but apparently a viral picture of Kamala Harris's relative. It's a little girl with pigtails that showed, and then Kamala Harris is like blurred in the background because of the bokeh of the lens. And they said, you haven't talked a lot about gender and race. How did that viral picture make you feel? And that was how they ended it. So that was the actual interview.
Was there a lot of production value, like when you watch Joe Biden, the jump cuts where it's very evident?
Yeah, they cut away, and then they cut away, and then they cut away. I
just want to see the jump cuts with the clock in the background where you see the minute hand moving like side by side.
I don't know how many takes it took to get the right answer, but what she came up with was the best she could get on a taped interview. And these are the takeaways, again, from CNN. So here's what we're going to do. Like I said, I watched clips to get kind of a snippet of what we were going to getting, see what the right-wing side is telling us, and if it was accurate. Then I watched the whole thing. Then I read CNN's takeaways right afterwards, and CNN, of course, did the interview. And that, to me, was the funniest and stupidest part of it. I literally have every question that was asked by Dana Bash written over here in a note. So what we're going to do, folks, this is kind of the game. I'm going to ask Steve the questions after we do the CNN review. I'm going to ask Steve the questions. He's going to, with a little bit of information from CNN, try to approximate Kamala Harris's answers, and then I'm going to give the actual points. So you're going to get all the best stuff here. Here we go. Takeaways per this guy, Eric Bradner and Chelsea Bailey, writers I'm not familiar with over at CNN's website, but they did the interview, so they get to say. They lead with this. Vice President Kamala Harris said she was deeply touched by a photograph of her young grandniece. Will you please, Steve, while we're doing this, look up what a grandniece is? Because I don't know. In pigtails, watching her speak at the Democratic National Committee last week in Chicago, although she hasn't emphasized it, she's running to be the president for all Americans. And the photograph captured the potential of her candidacy to make history. Her answer to this question, which had nothing to do with the girl, really, which was, what do you think about race and gender? And she said, it's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways. So that's how it ended. That was the end of the interview. Here are the things that they asked about, according to CNN, the biggest takeaways. She explained her flip-flop on fracking. You'll see if she did. She discussed the possibility of appointing a Republican to the cabinet. These are the least important takeaways, by the way, from me. So I think it's funny. She refused to engage in Trump's identity politics, per a question from Dana Bash. And there was the phone call that changed everything. She blamed Trump for border security, and Walz says he owns his own mistakes. Those are the takeaways per CNN. Are you prepared for our little game?
I am ready for that. And a grandniece would be the grandchild of Kamala's sister.
So she's old enough to be a grandma, but she has no children. So she doesn't have her own grandchildren.
So
she has a
grandniece.
co-opting
the grandchild of her sister.
It's
very
her
much like
sister's grandchildren is a grandniece. I have never heard that one before. And I don't have any.
I think it was invented just for her.
You have to dig deep when you want to try to make her into a maternal figure. And that is obviously something that's being done. Like they've presented her as a maternal figure despite the fact that she's not a maternal figure. Okay. Kamala Harris, Steve Friend. What will you do on day one of your administration?
So I'm playing her in the most sympathetic way possible, trying to think through the lens of her. Now, I'm
Yeah,
not
her
gonna try
actual
to be cynical or sarcastic. Anyway.
No. Her actual answers. What do you think?
I think that the first thing that you would do is you would take efforts now that the border is okay to talk about and bring forward a strong agenda on the border to try to rectify that. And also I would implement certain economic policies that would push down on inflation and make the argument that we're going to reduce spending in certain fields because that's been the impact that's been driving it forward. And after being in the vice presidency for 4 years and seeing that I think that we need a course correction at this point.
Okay. What we're going to do on the first day of the Harris administration is strengthen the middle class.
No further information.
We got a little information about that. We're going to implement any opportunity economy.
I need a dictionary for that one.
I don't know what that is either. Okay.
Economy.
What we're going to do is we're going to give a child tax credit for the first year of life for a child. And we're going to give basically a refundable $6,000 tax credit to parents.
That's of course, if they don't murder their baby, which is
we're into that too, but yes, we're also going to help build affordable housing on day one.
Which is going to be government projects in the suburbs and will cause housing prices to necessarily skyrocket, not to say anything about the infrastructure, because that's a lot of people sitting on the toilet that they don't have the pipes for, and a lot of cars that they don't have parking spots for, and a lot of schools that people aren't going to be contributing to property taxes in order to fund. Good luck.
Well, there is a crisis of affordability. I'm now Dana Bash. Things were cheaper under Donald Trump. I'm summarizing her statement. What do you say about people who you said you want to go forward as a candidate. What do you say about people who want to go back to the Trump economy, which seemed better to them?
So as Kamala Harris, I'm going to say that this economy that we tried to create during the last Biden-Harris administration is all about equity. And we've clearly seen that the upper class is not paying their fair share, and we need to change policies, tax related, to make things fair so that, we all wind up in the same place.
Okay. Actual Kamala says that when I came into office, hundreds of people were dying every day. There was a pandemic that was mismanaged by Donald Trump, and the economy is back on track because of the policies of the Biden-Harris administration. But groceries are still too expensive. So our agenda is to attack price gouging. We're going to go after grocery stores that are price gouging.
We're going
to give a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers. We're going to do a child tax credit to make the world more affordable and strengthen the middle class.
So those are her talking points. Her talking points are the child tax credit and helping home buyers. So she's gone back to that. Two questions. She's made reference to that both times.
Exactly. So the big takeaways, people, is that she's going to buy votes with a child tax credit if you have a 1-year-old. If you have a sub 1-year-old, it's too late for me. It's too late for you. It's going to be too late for any of you that are senior citizens. She throws in a plug. If you're a senior citizen and you have diabetes, she's helping you out already. So she's helped out on insulin
$35 insulin.
Dude, the love they have for the people who are seniors that are doing insulin, that's a type 2 diabetes. That is an obesity issue that should be corrected. Most of these people are on either insulin. They may not even be on insulin, to be fair. They're probably on metformin. That's what most people in the sort of pre-diabetic state is, which means obese, but they haven't hit it. So metformin is one of the sugar regulators that people get on. Almost all the overweight people I know over age are buying that. So it's very interesting that they went for insulin. Okay, Kamala Harris, Steve, you were vice president for the last 3.5 years. Why didn't you already do these things?
My job as the vice president is support the president's initiative and goals. And at the time, the information that we were dealing with, I felt that the case that he made to me and being the last person in the room was the most compelling. And now in retrospect, I'm a grown-up and I make grown-up decisions. And if we were wrong on those, we're going to make adjustments in my administration because we're going to be nimble.
Do you guys see why Steve Friend would be a better candidate for president than Kamala Harris? No. The answer that she gave is first we had to recover the economy to be able to do any of these things. And we did bring inflation down, even after we brought it up. First we brought it up, but then we brought it back down. And now it's under 3%, which I think is still more than what Trump left office with. And we capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month.
And we just erased 800,000 jobs last week. It was a rounding error. Sorry, we didn't carry the one.
She didn't get that update because we're going to talk about that next. So are you saying that Bidenomics is a success, Kamala Harris, Steve?
Bidenomics has been an extraordinary success because Joe Biden is an extraordinary president. We've pushed for legitimate agenda with the Inflation Reduction Act because we are transitioning to a green economy here. And we're hoping that that's going to create a lot more job opportunities that are middle class, union jobs. And that is what our focus is. We're not really worried about top down evil Republican policies. It's building an economy from the middle out.
What she said is that when we do what we have been doing by investing in American infrastructure, 800,000 new manufacturing jobs will come up. What we've done is when we remove the supply chain from foreign nations, which we haven't done yet, but when we do that, then that's going to be good work. More to do there, but that's what we've done.
So that's a very isolationist policy from a party that seems to be all about globalism. That's a stark move. If you can cut through the word salad, I mean, that's basically arguing that we're not going to trade with China anymore because we're going to make all of our own stuff. But does she really intend to do that? Or I don't think that that's a goal here because we're looking for one world government.
We're looking for we're just looking to get to the end of this interview, Steve. That's really what's going on here.
Filibuster.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this one we played a little bit about this yesterday. By the way, you got a couple of votes for president in there, so that's good news for you. What about fracking? Can you tell me about fracking? Seems like you flip-flopped about fracking.
I go back to what I said earlier on this. I'm an adult. I take the best information that I have to make the best decisions at the time that I have to make them. But being on my perch as the vice president and seeing the energy crisis that was generated, we necessarily have to use these tools until we can fully transition to a green economy that relies heavily on things like solar and wind.
Okay. I already said I was for fracking 4 years ago, and I haven't changed that in the last 4 years.
So it's like OJ saying, "Well, I haven't killed anybody since Nicole." So yeah,
hold on. We'll play this little clip of her. Okay, so yes, this is the actual question. So I'm going to mix some of the fun stuff in, but I'm enjoying this. Hopefully, it's better than people just getting like nonstop Kamala. And by the way, your answers are better than hers. Again, you should be in the same seat. You could even run as a Democrat at this point, and it wouldn't make a difference. But here we go.
In Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania. Sure. Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
In a 2018 interview, you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all. I never have." But earlier this month, you told an interviewer, quote, "I support fracking. I support the energy independence that we should have here in the United States." So, Mr. Fetterman, please explain your changing position. 60 seconds.
I've always supported fracking. And I always believe that independence with our energy is critical, and we can't be held, ransom to somebody like Russia. I've always believed that energy independence is critical, and I've always believed that, and I do support fracking. I've never taken any money from their industry, but I support how critical it is that we produce our own energy and create energy independence.
I must correct the record.
Just a second, Mr. Oz. I do want to clarify something. You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all." So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking.
Okay,
Okay, Steve, who did it better, Kamala Harris on the redo, or John Fetterman while he was recovering from his brain aneurysm?
John Fetterman recovering from a brain aneurysm, who was a walking VAERS report at the time, because God knows how many times he got jabbed and he had that growth out of the side of his neck. He can be my vice president candidate when I run as Kamala, because
in a hoodie?
We're also Sinai Award winners from Tablet next to each other alphabetically.
Did you actually both win the same award?
Yes, and because of alphabetically, I fell between John Fetterman and Ayaan Hirsi Ali, which one of these things is not like the other.
That's so weird. What a weird time to be alive. Can we also say that he seems like he wears the hoodie because he also has the same body exothermic issue that you have? He's always cold, isn't he?
No, he wears shorts everywhere, though. So,
I figure you could wear shorts. Do you like to? I mean, you do wear pants a lot, but I imagine you in shorts and like a light jacket in Iraq.
I would be in long pants and a windbreaker on a slightly sloped roof if I was going to take a pot shot at a president in mid-July.
Now we just got banned. Let me just say this to you guys, folks. First of all, if you're liking what you're getting into here, just go ahead and hit the like button. Steve and I were talking the other day about how we cover different ends of the spectrum, that if it's freezing cold outside, if it's below 30, if it's below 20, if it's below 15, I'll go out in running tights and no shirt and go for a run. Steve Friend is actually staying at home and throwing another log on the fire as he huddles as close as possible to the bricks. But if it's 1,000 degrees outside, Steve's out there in a light jacket and I'm dead. I actually died already. It's just we just split up a little.
Just like the sun never set on the British Empire, we're always apex predators as suspendables. There will always be coverage regardless of the weather.
And neither of us sleep, from what I can tell, because there are some really, really outlandish times of the night and day that you and I have had conversations.
Timestamps on our messages are bizarre.
They're unsettling. I think the federal government has been like, we can't even do an out of normal business hours unannounced raid because those turds are awake.
That just means that they're gonna have to deviate from the 6 o'clock time, so we just always have to be ready. But we always are.
We're always ready, guys. Okay, let's go back to the debate. Are you prepared?
I'll put my 59-year-old childless woman hat back on. Let's do this.
All right. So you haven't changed your opinion, except that you changed your opinion in 2020. We're sort of at that. What changed? Dana Bash did one follow-up question. And it was this: what changed?
In 2020, I joined Joe Biden. I was fortunate enough to join the ticket with our extraordinary president. And then at that point, he had further information because he had been vice president and been in position of leadership and shared that with me, changed my perspective. And then in working in his administration, that's only further solidified my opinion on this, that fracking is a necessary step here to energy independence.
Well, my values haven't changed, Dana. We have 300,000 new clean energy jobs, and I was the tie-breaking vote in the Inflation Reduction Act,
It's
which
a
was a way to
solid
bring
move
in.
to say that the Inflation Reduction Act was the Green New Deal. That's a great admission.
She's not supposed to do that. There's some people that have gone like, uh-oh, the whole thing about how you weren't trying to sneak your communism onto us, but you got it that way. Oh dear. You forgot the talking points and you went off because you got flustered because she asked you one follow-up question, and that was it. Pretty amazing.
And Dana Bash is married to one of the 51 people who signed off on the Russian disinformation letter that was used in 2020 that said that the Hunter Biden laptop story had all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. She's married to one of those jerks who gave that talking point that Mike Morrell, deputy director of the CIA, authorized because he got a phone call from Antony Blinken and they got it published in 6 hours. So Dana Bash was, I'm sure, doing yeoman's work to massage the feet of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
She accidentally asked a third follow-up question because she really is excited about energy policy and fracking for some reason. Kamala Harris, Steve Friend, did the science convince you to change your policy?
I am a science-driven person. That is what has been one of the hallmarks of me in leadership. I took steps when it came to health policy. I'm now taking steps here as it pertains to energy policy, because I think that science and trusting in the experts that we have because of the intellectual resources that are available in this country. And that is my pledge to the American people, that I will rely on people who have more knowledge than me, because that is effective leadership.
I saw the economy grow without banning fracking, so I felt good about it. It's so weird. It's so strange. Okay, let's get down to the serious issue that you thought we were going to be addressing right away. Kamala Harris, Steve friend, why did you wait 3 years to stem the border issue and the underlying causes of asylum seekers coming in over the southern border? You can throw in a, by the way, if you want to cackle, because I know that you're doing your best to play this real straight, and I appreciate that. You're more than welcome to throw a cackle in or an awkward laugh if you like, because that is fair, but not comically, like you mean it.
Oh, it's just like insert cackle here.
Yeah, as needed. Yeah, you could throw that. You could give me parenthetical cackles. Why did you wait 3 years to stem the border crisis?
I didn't wait 3 years. I was trying to do diplomacy, which was a really big mandate as it pertained to the Biden-Harris administration. I was trying to work with our partners in Latin America and South America to address the concerns that they had that was driving people to move to America and stem that tide at the point of origin. And then as it pertains to actually being on the border, I trusted in the brave men and women there to do the job. And my promise to them is I will continue to support them and give them the adequate resources if the Congress will cooperate with me and pass bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform.
That sounds like you should be out stumping. First of all, my work already did help, and it's resulted in American businesses driving historic investments into Latin America.
So you outsourced American businesses and took credit for it?
No. We're bringing manufacturing jobs back, but also I'm getting people to bring manufacturing jobs away. I don't understand. I think that's really fun. I love it when someone actually looks at the words that they say and you go like, not a follow-up question on that, by the way. We did get a border bill that was put together, and it was bipartisan, and it was by the most conservative people in the House. But Donald Trump spiked it because he's very mean, and he thought it would be politically advantageous to keep having people come over the border. And by the way, whether you like it or not, I've been to Georgia 17 times since I've been vice president.
Georgia, the state?
Georgia, the state.
Where they were doing a border with Florida.
Yeah. No, she was doing the interview in Georgia. And that was the 17th time she's been there as vice president.
Oh, so it just
I'll file that under NFI. In the days that when Steve and I used to work in the FBI, folks, sometimes you would write things and it would be like quoting a source, and the source would be like, "I ate 17 cheeseburgers and I've never been sick from it." And you would put that in quotes, and then you would write NFI, which stands for no further information, which is kind of like, I don't know.
I mean, that sounds like a lot of the suspect interviews I did on an Indian reservation where they were.
She's been to Georgia 17 times.
I mean, is she trying to maybe lean onto the Hillary Clinton, I've flown more miles than any Secretary of State, that makes me uber qualified to be president?
I think she's saying she didn't go to the southern border, but she also hasn't been to Europe. And she also hasn't been, she's never been to Paris, and she's never been to France. She's never seen the Queen in her white frilly underpants, but she has been to Georgia 17 times, and there are black voters in Georgia. I think that's what she was saying. I don't know.
And y'all were there for us in 2020, and you could be there for us again in 2025.
Girl, you know I'm out there on them streets. It's so weird. This is the weirdest interview. I had a lot of fun watching it because I was like, is it going to be bad? It's only bad when you actually break it down into the points. Like if you listen to it, you're like, oh, these are two people. They're talking. They're grown-up adults using full sentences. That's really what it sounds like for the most part. Minimal of the goofy laughing, except there are two weird things that are coming up.
I'm just imagining that boxing coach who's screaming into Rocky's ear in Rocky IV as Apollo is getting mashed to death by Ivan Drago. Throw in the damn towel. And Tim Walz has got like whatever in his ear saying like, you've got to interject.
No, he's not allowed to interject, but he did have his shirt collar. You know when you put on a shirt and a tie? So ladies, if you don't know this, one of the worst things you can really do is have the back of your collar flipped up, showing the tie. That's not a good look. That means that you're lazy. You're out of regs. And then the other one is when your collar, if you don't have a button-down collar, which I don't like button-downs. I like the shirt stays or the collar stays. His collar was out over the top of the lapel of his jacket a little bit. And so this is a pre-staged interview
that Tim Walz's wife doesn't like him because that's an autocorrect from the spouse.
That should be like that would be an autocorrect for me and you. If I saw you like that, I would not allow you to be on television in that format. Actually, let me see if I can zoom in on this. Let me see if I could throw this up here on the screen.
Maybe it makes him more relatable because he's, coach.
Okay, I've got it on the screen here for you to look at. So look, it's the right side of his collar is over the top of his lapel, and depending on the angle of the shot, because there's a couple shots in this, it looks better or worse, but it doesn't look good. It is what it is.
Nope, I think they're trying to go for the everyman quality to him.
Here we do. We'll do it again. There it is. Well, he did say, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. So, I just say whatever I want. My wife says my grammar is bad. I don't know when grammar results in, there are a few times when grammar results in like factually inaccurate statements. And we had one of those online where Julie Kelly's brother said something really mean to me. He said he was a 6'5", 250-pound Marine. And then he said, come get some P-U-S-S-Y. But he didn't put a comma in there, and I thought that was really funny because it's like that actually has a different meaning. If you don't put a comma in, you're not calling me a name. You're inviting me for something that I'm not interested in, which is a funny thing to do. Anyway, men, when we have insults online, we end up a little bit retarded, and if you come at somebody pretty aggressively, you end up saying dumb shit. That's just how it goes. Okay, we're gonna.
And grammar has,
grammar has nothing to do with whether or not you were actually the command sergeant major, or whether you retired as a master sergeant. I'm just saying that's not grammar. Those are actual words, and there's an actual factual problem with what you said, which is quite fun. We're not gonna let me break away. Let me say thanks to my buddies at the Patriot Cooler Company. I don't think they support this particular candidate set. It's my guess. PatriotCoolers.com is one of our longest running sponsors. They are sitting on my desk. This is the Army Green, is what they call it. Those of us who know what this Army Green is called, we call it OD Green, which is olive drab. You guys can get your own Patriot Cooler tumbler. You can get one of their larger coolers, the hard cooler, the soft cooler, a lunchbox, backpack, etc. A hat that says Patriot at patriotcoolers.com, patriotcoolers.com. The promo code KYLE saves you 10%. How many times you guys heard me say it? A lot. Whenever you're in the market, whenever you're thinking, if you're ever in a situation where you're like, hey, I've got a family member and I need to get a gift and I'm not 100% sure what's going to make it so. Like, what's the right gift for somebody who has many things? These are quite good. They won't be disappointed. They come in a beautiful packaging that is patriotic. It's got red, white, and blue on it, a lot like our lower thirds. And they're well packed. They're well received. And then they actually perform, which is great. You're not going to go wrong.
Talking about the OD Green there, this is sort of a Garrett O'Boyle-ism. He made being a veteran into a verb. He said, some guys vet so hard. Does Tim Walz strike you as one of those guys who probably has I love me some me in his cubicle if he were to work for the FBI?
Yes, but like in a way that you wouldn't be impressed. So I had a guy, there's a guy that I used to work for at the Bureau, right? And he was an ASAC. So he's a GS-15, folks. That's the top of the scale before you move into the SES. And he was my boss's boss. And I went in and he had a plaque. It was the only military plaque that he had. Maybe to his credit, maybe not. And it said, from the men of SEAL Team 8, the Ocho, the men of SEAL Team 8, high appreciations for whatever he was an officer, so a little different animal than I'm at, but high appreciations for your time with our SEAL team. And it was very prominently displayed in his wall. So if you walked in, it was like one of the first things you saw. It has the trident, right? But he was an intel officer, and he was the same guy that sent over his sort of bio as we were in the office, and it just said, he's a former intelligence officer and he served as the chief intel specialist or whatever for an F-14 Tomcat fighter jet squadron and SEAL Team 8, naval special warfare. And so when my boss and I were talking about him, she's like, oh, he's just like you. He's also like a combat diver. Like he was a SEAL. And I was like, no, he wasn't a SEAL. He was an intel guy.
People that do it too.
And she was like, oh, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, no, he was an intel guy. I read his bio when they sent it across the thing through the email. He seems like the kind of the guy that says, like, I'm really proud of my service, but I don't want to say anything in particular that I'm proud of. What are you proud of doing? Like if you talk to my buddy Nick, and my buddy Nick was a special operations TAC P. And so like, if you were like, Nick, what are you really proud about? He's like, he'll say things like, I'm really proud that we made the New York Times for disrupting a Taliban funeral procession. But unfortunately, the person that they were interning was just made of 2,000-pound bomb parts. Because when we dropped ordnance on it, the secondary explosion was 3 times the size of the 500-pound bomb we dropped on them in the middle of the road. That they were trying to bury their friend in the middle of the road, and their friend was made of bombs, basically. Like, that's the kind of stuff that they tell you because that's hilarious and it's also true, right? when you talk to people that have done actual things and made kinetic actions, then yes. And then when you've done things like I'm proud of the tough training I did, but I don't talk about it all the time. It was hard. It was harder than most people, but I don't know what Tim Walz did, and I don't know how he ended up as like a 60-year-old man that looks. He's the same age as Kamala Harris.
He looks
like her dad.
I guess that sort of proves her African American bona fides, right? Isn't the saying like black don't crack, because she is much younger looking than he is.
Oh, we're almost there. We're almost there. So just hold that thought, because I'm going to ask you about your heritage. All right, let's get back to the game. Kamala Harris, Steve Friend. Would you consider? You said you want to be a president for all people. We need to unite this country. Would you consider having a Republican in your cabinet?
I'm willing to listen to anyone and any ideas, and that's one of the promises that I'll make to the American people, because this country is unique in its diversity of color and creed and ideology. And anyone who's willing to cross the aisle and work with me is welcome in my administration. I cannot promise that I will bring your ideas to fruition, but I am always willing to hear them.
That was way too eloquent, but essentially she did say yes.
But I mean, it's going to be Adam Kinzinger.
No. Any idea who that person might be? That's the follow-up question.
You know, in my time in Washington, D.C., I've interacted and worked across the aisle with lots of people who are in the Senate, and I consider many of them friends. But I keep those conversations private, and I will have those conversations. And then once a decision is made, if that person is appropriate, then I'll announce it.
Steve, this is another reason why you're better at this than she was. She said, I have no idea. I have 68 more days to decide to make up an answer for this, but I love diversity of opinion.
Same non-answer, but one sounds like...
There's a lot of non-answers here. I got another good one for you. How about Trump? You've never met him personally, which I didn't know that, but now everyone, that was the only revelation that I took out of this, is that she's never actually been in the same room as Donald Trump.
That's crazy. Mm-hmm. She was a sitting U.S. senator and she never met the president?
Mm-hmm. So she's never met Donald Trump in person, and he said that you aren't black until recently. What's up with that? By the way, I wrote these questions myself, paraphrasing, because Dana Bash doesn't speak the way that I would. I'd have more fun. Donald Trump said that you ain't black. What's up with that?
Look, I'm not about making a campaign about racial ideology. I want to be the president for all American people. And if he wants to go down that road, then I offer him my sympathies, because that is not what leadership is about. Leadership should be about uniting the American people and not relying on what divides us and these petty racial tensions that have been pervasive in our country for over 2 centuries now need to be in the past, in the rearview mirror. I want to be the American president, not the African American president.
Same old playbook. Racism. I don't want to fall into that trap. Next question, please.
Nice cackle.
Like, what the hell? She literally goes, next question, please. Wow. It's a taped interview. They could have cut that part out. They could have redone it and be like, I just don't think it's really worth addressing.
I guess
anything you said would have been better.
Boss, right?
Anything. Yeah. The next question, please. Awkwardly. It was so weird. It's one of the cringiest moments in the whole thing. But that's cool. That's just how she did it. Like I said, you continue to have probably a better version of this. Let's see here. I've got some clips. I want to make sure we did. Oh, I want to do the clip of her talking about the border, because that actually is worth hearing her actual own words. We'll kind of play back and forth here. Here you go.
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill.
All right, there's more to that too, but anyway, I just wanted you to hear her talking about exporting American jobs while she was talking about importing American jobs.
Her contention is that Donald Trump, private citizen, killed a bill. I mean,
Donald Trump is still the president.
On a path where she could have articulated a correct response, or a response that would have been to her advantage, to say, look, we've had a record number because Bidenomics is working so well. We have a booming economy and people want to come to America, and we need to create a comprehensive bill that's going to properly secure our border, but at the same time is welcoming to people who want to participate in this great American experiment.
What about the war in Gaza? A lot of people in your party don't like the Jews. They would like you to restrict some of their weapon purchasing abilities from the U.S. government. So is there anything that you would do differently? What's going on in Gaza? How do we deal with that?
Israel has a right to exist, and I will support them.
Mm-hmm. You have to say that, otherwise you get canceled immediately. I don't know.
Yes, you have to say that. And
this leads to all the people that go like, if you don't say right up front, like I stand with Israel and it's unwavering, then it's like the Jews are in control. It's like that's actually not a bad position to be saying, but it's really weird that everybody has to start with their like caveat.
Yeah,
it's like,
they get issued a caveat.
I'm not a
and
lawyer,
you have
but
to say that I would like to see a negotiation, and I would like to see it brokered. And in the United States, under a Harris administration, will be happy to facilitate that discussion to bring a resolution to this, because we have to stop the violence.
I'm unwavering in my support of Israel. October 7th, there were 1,200 people that were massacred and raped, but too many Palestinians are being killed. So we've got to get a deal to get the hostages out, and we need a ceasefire. I don't have any specifics on how that would work. I don't actually understand what I'm talking about. What I need to do is stop the war. We need a two-state solution. Everybody needs to have dignity. Boop.
Here's my thing. Could you make an argument, an actual legitimate argument, to say, I support Israel's right to exist. I think that the two-party state is a solution, but at the same time, I think that the United States should stay out of this matter, because would you then be getting an anti-war support and then also making a wink and a nod to saying like we think Israel should exist, but we're not going to support them? Is that feasible? I'm not sure.
I don't know. My position is, who cares? We've got other problems.
Foreign policy is so hard. I mean, the joke was that Ronald Reagan said he wanted a foreign policy advisor with one arm, because they came in all the time. We're like, well, on one hand, you could do this, and on the other hand, you could do this. He's like, just give me what I need to make a decision.
Yeah, just come forward with something. How about this? Do you have any regrets, Kamala Harris, Steve Friend, do you have any regrets about telling the American people that Biden is mentally strong, fit, virile, and ready to serve?
I work with Joe Biden every single day, and he is an extraordinary man. He's extraordinarily brave. He's gone to work for 3.5 years for the American people. I'm proud to have served in that administration, and I continue to stand by him, ready to serve as a vice president. And then when it's my turn, then I will lean on him as an advisor, because he is such an extraordinary person. See, I use extraordinary a lot. So I'm getting into the role.
You are getting into the role. That was actually not bad. That was pretty close. Joe Biden is smart, and he's strong, and he's loyal, and I was proud to serve with him. It was the honor of my life, and I'm so proud to run with Walz, and we're ready to turn the page on the last decade in America. To which point Dana leaned in and said, but you guys were the administration in charge of the last 3.5 years, right? And she was like, I'm really talking about an era here. I'm not talking about the last 3.5 years. I'm talking about the decade and an era. We want to turn the page on that. I think Americans are over it. Do you want to hear it in our own words?
Send it.
Here we go. I wrote this as, why did you lie about Joe Biden being okay? I don't actually know exactly how she responded to it, but I'm pretty close.
Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
There it is. I did the math on this because 10 years ago was 2014, which means Obama was president. So we're actually talking about over 5 years, right? So almost 6 years of the last 10 years or so. Actually, yeah, no, it's like 5.5, 6 years, 6.5 years. What is it? What's the number? I'm trying to think. I know Trump only gets 4 years of it. So the rest of it was Democrat. 60% of the last decade was them. But we're talking about the era. And the era, I assume she's talking about the era of Trump. It's a really weird take.
Did you also notice that, I guess they're sitting in these lounge-ish office chairs. She's slouching really badly. Like, her posture's awful.
My friend, let me tell you my take on this, okay? Because you will appreciate this. This interview I think it was designed to be like, they're just like us. They're just regular people. But what it looks like is you're interviewing for such a shit job that we're not even going to take you up to the conference room. We're just going to stop in the break room on the first floor, and we're going to do the first floor break room interview, and then we're going to get you out of here because I just don't think it's worth setting up in the actual conference room where we do the real interviews for the executives. That's what it looks like to me. It's weirdly shot. In the actual shot of Tim Walz and Kamala with Dana Bash sort of like blurred in the bokeh of the lens, you get Kamala being about a foot shorter than him by looks. She looks diminutive and small, and Walz looks fat and tubby, and his thing is like disheveled, and then Dana's like covered by cameras and stuff. That's kind of the angle. It's a really, really badly framed. Whoever the cinematographer is that works on the set for CNN came in, imagined something dumb, and then created a really, really bad visual. I just, like I said, I can't get over the idea that she's in a break room. And there was some social media commentary about that too. They're like, did they just shoot this in like the CNN break room in Atlanta? Like, what's going on?
More mahogany. We need to make this look like something regal if you're going to try to message it. And I know that the height thing does bother her. Isn't that one of her demands for the
She wants to be on a stool.
She wants a Tom Cruise stool.
She does. I don't hate her for that. I just think it's weird that they shot it so badly that that's what came out. So very good on you for astutely recognizing that as well without having, like, we're doing this on the fly here. Let's see. No regrets about telling him he's strong. Oh, what was it like when Joe Biden called you to drop out of the race? Can you tell us? What was that call like?
I was completely caught off guard by that. I was ready, willing, and able to serve as a vice president in President Biden's second administration. And at the time I was working on the issues that he tasked me with, particularly as it pertained to whatever that she was going to message at that point. I don't know what at that point where she was in the summer.
To be honest, mentioned at least 3-4 times. We were sitting with all of these babies that were related to one of my family members. And we were having pancakes, and they were like, Auntie, can I have more bacon? And I was like, yeah, you can have more bacon. And then we were having these pancakes, and then we sat down on the floor so that we could do a puzzle. And that's when the phone rang.
That's the least believable part of the entire interview.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Were you in the Naval Observatory when that happened?
It was Joe Biden on the phone. And when he said it, my first thought was not about me, but my question was, are you sure? I've just done this entire coup. I already recruited your social media intern to tell you that you're out. Are you sure? Are you sure you're going to go with the thing that I just concocted and launched on you?
I don't think there's a chance that Joe Biden has spoken to Kamala Harris in months, if ever. Because in his 11 minutes of having his wits about him a day, normally probably between like 11:30 and 11:41 before the sundowning begins, he is probably the most rage-filled person outside of Jill Biden, because she's going to lose out on the FLOTUS spot, knowing that they completely pulled a coup on him and he lost out on what his dream was, and that was just to hold on to power, pry it from my cold, dead hands.
And they were like, no, we're just going to pry it using the internet. You don't even know what the internet is, old man. You should have talked to your friend Al Gore. So all of that's fun. Steve, what are you drinking right now? Can I put you on the spot? No, you were drinking liquid. You had liquid.
Oh, yeah, I was drinking a bottle of water.
You're drinking a bottle of water, but it's seltzer water.
Yes.
Carbonated water. And I am also drinking carbonated water today. I don't know how we're on the same. Our cycles have aligned, even if our shirts are not.
Laundry cycles are a little bit off, but hydration cycles.
Hydration cycles are on point. I just wanted to share that with people because I saw you drinking it during one of the cutaways, and so I was like, Okay. Did Joe Biden endorse you right away?
Yes, he did. And that's just why he came to one of my big announcement events, because Joe Biden recognized in me a potential to ascend to that role immediately. And that's why he selected me as his vice president. And that's why I was proud to serve with him and help him in making the decisions to make to better and further the American agenda for the last 4 years.
My first thought was just about him. That's what I thought about. To be honest, history will show that Joe Biden's presidency is transformative.
You don't have to not answer the easy questions. Like I will never get over that.
I don't know what she's trying to say.
She said, just has to say yes. Yes, of course
she literally
he did.
said,
he spoke at the convention, didn't you see?
Dude, did he endorse you was essentially the gist of the question. And her answer was, my first thought was about him. I have to be honest. History will show that Biden's presidency was transformative. We got our allies back, and we've shown people that we stand for true territorial sovereignty. I have absolutely no idea what territorial sovereignty. What is she saying?
The northern border.
So I've got a really good word salad of Kamala Harris. This is why they don't even want her to do these interviews. So let me throw this out here. Folks, this is something she said the other day, and I understand it's just a snippet, and it is, and like occasionally we all get ahead of our skis and we say dumb things, but not when you're reading off a freaking teleprompter and you're standing in front of a bunch of people. She looked away from the teleprompter just long enough to lose her place in line, and she said this.
He even called for termination of the United States Supreme, the supreme land of our nation, the United States Constitution.
You know the thing. She was talking about Donald Trump is calling to suspend the Constitution, I suppose, but she looked away, and that's what she came up with. She sounds like Fetterman.
She's not good at this at all. And I think we know that, which is why she put this off for almost 6 weeks. And then the question remains, does she do another one? Because that would be perceived as, well, now she's got to do cleanup, or she just rely on the Dana Bash inspired media to cover for her until she has to then go to the debate stage if she can't get out of it because they won't give her the Tom Cruise stool.
Let me see if you can approximate this kind of word salad. See if you can repeat this back to me.
He even called for termination of the United States Supreme, the supreme land of our nation, the United States Constitution.
Go.
He even called for the suspension of the supreme, the supreme law of the land, the United States Articles of Constitution.
She sounds more like Joe Biden, actually, now that I think
sounds
about
a little bit like RFK too. She's got that weak, sort of shaky voice. And I mean, I know his is actually a medical condition.
Yeah, his is a medical condition.
But that was nerves.
Yeah, probably so. Okay, so did he endorse you? One of the standout moments for you, Tim Walz, was that your son was crying. He was so proud of you. How do you answer that? Now you get to be Walz. This is fun. You get to be a man. What do you got?
Can I run away?
No, you have to.
Look, I'm
talk about joy or gratitude. Take your pick.
And there was, regardless of the outcome of any election going forward, the proudest moment of my life was looking out into the crowd and seeing my family there, because there's nothing more important to me than my family.
That's about right. He said something like that, but then he also said something that I just wrote down as a note, not the actual quote. We can use our families as tokens because we are in a special time where we need to do that. That was my takeaway from listening to him. It was really gross. He was like, we try to protect our families, but sometimes you got to put your family out there because it's a special time for us to share our family with you in a political way. And I was like,
I want to teach my kids. I want to be an example for my kids that true American citizenship means getting involved. And that was
you're still better at this, Steve. You just walk away.
Pull like Tim Walz and just. I retired.
This is like a mercy rule. Like, you should be done with it. I'm going to play Tim Walz talking about, hey, did you lie about your service when you were talking about using weapons of war? And so I'm going to play you his response because I'm not going to put you on that spot. Here we go.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
Just the quintessential political answer of don't
We're
answer
just
the question.
getting to know you as a country, and his statement was, my record stands on its own, and people have known me for 40 years. And the answer is like, but did they?
The happiest person in that clip was Kamala Harris, because even though he was getting asked probably one of the most difficult and awkward questions to answer, she was off the X.
Yeah, no,
he was
definitely.
grinning ear to ear like, oh, I don't have to feel this one.
You and I had that moment one time. I think we've talked about this. I don't know if we ever talked about it on the podcast, but we were doing Jesse Waters, and right,
we did an after action.
Okay, so folks, Steve and I did Jesse Waters like really early on and going public with this stuff. So we're sitting on Jesse Waters, and I remember like I think I had a fever too. I think I had COVID at the time. I think I was really, really bad. So I'm sick and kind of febrile and kind of confused. And he asked me a question, and I'm like, blah, 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 and I nail it. And then he asked Steve a question, and I went, damn, I'm really glad he didn't ask me that question because I have no idea what to say. And Steve's answer was really good. And then he asked me a question, and I think you told me that you were glad you didn't get that question too.
It's crazy how you just switch on, switch off the ability to respond to questions. And if you're not on, you're just like an invalid. Like, ooh, what's going to go on here?
Yeah, what happens next? I wonder if Steve's going to be okay. Like, I can't help him.
This is compelling.
But I need to go ahead and let my brain reboot because like TV is really hard. Now, if you're in a sit-down interview, it's way easier than doing it over a TV and a teleprompter and whatever they have, or like a video return, because we've done a lot of our stuff remote. So that's a lot harder. Sitting down next to like Data Bash, asking you some friendly questions and asking you about your grandniece, like it's not really the challenge. Plus it's taped, and they literally can say, hey, stop tape, let's do that one again, which I despise that. I hate that format.
That's one question was, how many takes did it take? And not only that, because you could be a little bit inartful. You might have stumbled over a response and just say, hey, look, I want to say the same answer. And can we just get 2 copies of it and you guys make the determination about what's cleaner and give them that ability. But at the same time, how many questions did they not air? Were there any questions that Dana Bash presented that there was a terrible response to, and CNN was just like, this just doesn't put her in the best light, so we're just going to leave this off because we need to maintain our access to her campaign?
There are cuts, like there are obvious cuts where they go, they had to cover it because they couldn't do a jump cut. So yeah, there's definitely some of that where they couldn't cut to a different camera angle because of the audio. It's not good. It's not a good one. It won't matter to Democrats. Nobody should think otherwise. I just wanted to share people so they know what was said, since this lady has been selected to take the keys in January. And I still don't have any faith that our election is going to do the thing it's supposed to do. So even if there is overwhelming support, and I think there may be, and I think that Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg coming forward and sending something to Congress kind of tells them, like, we're pretty worried about what we see, and we want to get on the right team. And yet you don't see what Mike Benz calls the blob being worried. The only commentary that's continued to be valuable is a guy named Scott Jennings. You remember this guy?
From CNN.
He's the only one, and it's because he's a Republican, and so he's not stupid. And he's also very artful about the way he says this, and he's also doesn't roll over, which is kind of nice. It's the only way that CNN's going to get some viewers is by having someone who's not insane, by not having only Van Jones crying and Anderson Cooper pretending to be a serious person, even though he was a VJ and he's very wealthy. He's a Vanderbilt. He's a Vanderbilt that speaks just like you. He's so polished. He's turned so badly into a fake. Let me give you Scott Jennings, and then I'll get you to respond to it.
Screen. So at the beginning, when she's talking about Biden and their record, our screen said, this is called the Chiron, the headline at the bottom. It said, Harris stands by Biden administration economic record. She is making it clear that she will embrace and be a continuation of Biden's economic policy, his record, what they've done. She offered no remorse, no regrets, no introspection about anything they've done. She continued to blame inflation on this fantasy price gouging idea. She had no additional thoughts on the economic situation in the country or what they've done beyond just saying, Joe Biden and I have done a great job. Now, if I were the Trump people, I would be salivating over the idea that that's how they are going to run the race. I don't believe it's tenable. I also thought it was interesting that she didn't take any responsibility at the end for telling the American people that Joe Biden was fine and he was strong. I mean, we all know that's not true. That's why he's out of the race, and she's still standing by the idea that he was fine and he's strong and that he's fine today. Nobody believes that, and I just think at some point, then why isn't he running?
Because he's too old, point blank. Same reason why Donald Trump probably shouldn't be running, because he's too old and out of touch.
I think most Americans know the truth, and when you're running to be president and you're willing to look them in the face and tell them something they know that you know is not true, it does speak a little bit to your character.
Scott, and curious what you think about this, Axe. Will voters care about that part of it, which is kind of backward looking?
Can we get off this subject? Because Scott Jennings just eviscerated us. He said, "Why isn't she running? Why isn't he running then if he's actually competent?" Like, they know it was a lie. Everybody knows it was a lie,
including the woman sitting next to him. How awkward is it to be working at CNN if you're Scott Jennings? Because I think
it's fun. I don't think I'm a combatant. I love I don't mind going into a fight around a bunch of people that have to say dumb things for a living, and you get to say the truth. That sounds hilarious. That sounds like really good times.
He strikes me as a guy who's there, and he's not there as token opposition. He's there and he's embracing that opportunity. And he probably went in there with an open mind of thinking, hey, maybe these people do have an argument to be made that I just haven't considered. And then he sat at that table enough times to know, oh, there's no there. And like, I'm just going to let her rip. And anytime that I'm pushed back on, there's going to be nothing there, and I can just stomp on them like they're fleas because I'm operating at a far more sophisticated level than they are.
Well, he's operating underneath accuracy, which is helpful. Okay, so I think this interview was really bad. I think it didn't do what it needed to do. It obviously was weak, it was soft, and so on. Let me say something that is very disappointing to me. It disheartened me last night, and it continues to. Basically, this is the meme. It's like, no one, right? And then no one. It doesn't say anything. Or everyone, nothing. And then Donald Trump. Let me throw this at Donald Trump off the top rope to smash Donald Trump, trying to go after the pro-life vote and tell them that he's not interested. I don't know why you would shoot yourself in the penis like this. This is like the stupidest unforced error. I keep seeing these fumbles. He could stay in the basement and let her talk and it would win. They'd be like, where's Donald Trump? It's like, I don't know. There's like 10 years of Donald Trump. You can find as much as you want. Where's Kamala Harris? She just stepped onto the stage. You can watch one of 500 hours of rallies of Donald Trump and see what Donald Trump has to say about anything. You can do it all day long. He could just hang out and let her do this where she crushes herself. But he can't. He has got to go do this about Amendment 4 in your state. Here we go about abortion.
You overturn,
everyone does.
I think Roe, does, yeah. And you want abortion to be a states' rights issue. In Florida, the state that you are a resident of, there's an abortion-related amendment on the ballot to overturn the 6-week ban in Florida. How are you going to vote on that?
Well, I think the 6-week is too short. It has to be more time, and so and I've told them that I want more weeks.
So you'll vote in favor of the amendment?
I am going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. Look, just so you understand, everybody wanted Roe v. Wade terminated for years, 52 years. I got it done. They wanted it to go back to the states. Exceptions are very important for me, for Ronald Reagan, for others that have navigated this very, very interesting and difficult path.
Can you give me an answer? Steve, how are you going to vote on Amendment 4 and not lose the people that want to kill babies in the general? Go.
No, I vote no on Amendment 4 because it, by effect, eliminating that law, you would create abortion on demand at any point during a pregnancy. So even though if you make me Donald Trump, Steve Friend, you could say, I'm going to vote no on that. And I'm going to also lobby my state to amend the law because I think that 6 weeks is too short. I want it to be 10 weeks and then you can't kill the baby. I mean, you square that circle. I'm not making that argument. I mean, I don't have that ideology, but I think that the easy answer is no.
How about this one? Because it's even more squishy. I'm running for a national office. I don't really want to talk about state politics. I think that's between me and the people that live in my state. And it's really not something I'm trying to make an impression on. What I'm trying to move is national policy. And what I did is move this into a states' rights issue. And each state is going to do the thing. I'm only one vote in Florida, so it doesn't mean that much.
I think that's probably even a superior answer. I mean, they certainly let everybody else obfuscate. And yeah, you've made a case that I want to be the national leader as opposed to involved in state level politics.
Just don't answer the damn question. It's so easy to not answer the question. Kamala Harris didn't answer questions that were really easy, like simple questions like, oh, did Joe Biden call you? And What did you think when he called you? Like, I thought about pancakes and bacon. Like, she's full of shit all the time. It doesn't make any sense. Here's another one. So after he did this, he was like, I need to come off the top roads and hit myself again. Double down. This is so troubling to me because who's asking for this policy?
I'm announcing today in a major statement that under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, fertilization for women, IVF treatment.
And then he goes on to talk about how we need babies, we love babies, beautiful babies, so many babies. I mean, yeah. Who's asking for the government to step in? Are we doing
government healthcare now?
I don't get it.
That's what we're doing?
Is this the trade-off with RFK that you have to like have government-sponsored IVF? What the shit are we doing?
Isn't RFK arguing for government-sponsored meals? He wants like 3 meals a day for every American.
Oh, shocker! The like loony lefty who hates guns and thinks the government is the solution to something thinks the government is the solution to obesity. Let's just do a quick record because I actually have this. I may actually have.
Look at the school lunches. Those are.
Buddy, my wife dropped this on me. Amazon has gotten into a partnership with the YMCA to offer free grocery store food buying at schools through YMCA partnerships where the YMCA is already at. It's an Atlanta-backed organization that's going to start in San Francisco, logically enough, and they're going to give kids free school foods. I'm sure it's only going to be healthy foods. What do you think?
I think that it's going to be a disaster, and it's going to lead
sponsored
to
by Aetna.
maybe we'll go to like 75% pre-diabetes amongst children.
It's sponsored by Aetna.
Oh, wonderful. Have you eaten
There's no conflict
hospital
here.
food ever?
Hospital food will kill you, actually. My buddy lost his mind. My buddy is like a nutrition freak. He runs around and is like almost 50 years old. He's at like 4% body fat. I call him the oak leaf because you can see every one of his freaking veins. He's like way more vascular than you are. Freakish long distance runner, Ironman, blah, 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 ultra, all that stuff. And the thing about him is that he had someone very close to him. A lot of people have suffered from cancer, and he goes into the hospitals and he wants to throw chairs through the walls like a lunatic because they're bringing you Jell-O and all these processed foods that have high sugar and all kinds of different ingredients that are non-real. It's unfreaking believable that we're going to have a partnership that's going to pay these kids like this. And like I said, I don't get it. There's such an easy thing for him to talk about, but I do want to play this because for some reason lefties now, this is another weird thing about lefties. There was a moment on Charlie Kirk's show that I'll play maybe on Monday that I just don't want to get into with you, but it was about food and how women are excited about RFK because he talks about the thing that women care about, which is like healthy and safe food. And these like leftist crazy people, they're all now talking about big food. They're talking about big ag. Like they're defending this. So listen to this. I don't know what show this is on, but this is a psychologist. Sorry, he's a psychiatrist. So he's a medical doctor and he has a residency in psychiatry. Talking about food, and listen to the pissed off lawyer trying to come at him. And then our palate cleanser is going to tie into this. So I got you, people. I got you.
I don't think there are any risks to eating animal foods exclusively. There are no risks in terms of kidney function. There are many studies which show that high protein diets do not affect kidney function. There are no studies interventionally that show that eating meat is going to increase the risk of any single cancer. There are no risks to eating the foods that we have been eating as humans for our entire existence.
As an attorney, I would ask you, you're a medical doctor, is that correct?
Absolutely.
And you are a psychiatrist, am I
Right, I
correct?
did a residency in psychiatry.
So what do you know about nutrition?
Where
did you gain your background in nutrition?
Listen, this is, I think...
No, you listen to me and answer my question. Now I'm asking you to tell us where your background emanates from.
I went to medical school, and I studied nutrition in medical school, and I studied nutrition independently. One of the crazy things about medical school is that it teaches you how to read articles. I'm a doctor. I know how to read articles.
So have you
I know how
done
to read
any
the literature.
independent testing? Have you written any articles that was as suggested by the physicians who've been here today?
What does writing articles have to do with my knowledge of
Well,
nutrition?
because I could become you. I could be you as an expert.
Why is she so mad, Steve?
She ate too much Jell-O from the hospital, I guess.
She looks fat and weird.
I love the qualifier. As an attorney, I'm going to ask you questions about how you're not an expert on this. Oh, you're going to ask him questions about things that you're not an expert on? Fair.
She could become him, though. The part about being an attorney is that you learn how to read legal documents, you understand what the legal process is, and it's a way of thinking about the world, so you actually engage in combat like that. The part about being a doctor is supposed to be that you learn how to read medical studies, that you'd be able to interpret people's charts and then apply them to what you know in a knowledge base, and you should always be growing. It's amazing to me.
It was interesting to see the physical comparison as well. Like
he's
he
a nice looking
relatively
man.
healthy.
Yeah,
she did not.
He could hang out with us. All right. I'm going to skip the 5-star review of the day. We've gone a little bit long. What I want to do is play you a palate cleanser that is also kind of a dad joke. I think, folks, it will help you guys feel a little bit better. Share this with anybody that you walk around with. The old joke used to be to me, if you meet somebody who's a vegan and a CrossFitter, which one do they tell you about first?
Wait, 5 minutes.
Don't. Yeah, I don't know what they do. But this one is like a kid dropping a joke on a TV program where he's wearing a cowboy hat. It's kind of cute. I think it's like Australian, but here's a little palate cleanse. We still have to be humorous about all this stuff.
A vegan and a vegetarian are jumping off a cliff to see who will hit the bottom first. Who wins?
I don't know.
Who wins?
Society.
We weren't expecting that.
The nice ladies that have friends that are vegans and vegetarians couldn't help themselves because that kid got them.
They get it, man. They know how obnoxious they are, and they just don't care. That kid, he's a bro. He strikes me as the kid that we did a story on. Man, it's probably like a year ago where he had the patch on his backpack, and his mom went in there and was saying like, no, that's not historically accurate, and he's just sitting there with that smirk on his face.
Yeah, you need to drop like the gangster glasses and give him the spliff or whatever, like they did to Garrett O'Boyle, because that's a strong dunk. Anyway, one of the things we want to give you guys is a walk away and something you can take out into the world. And so, of course, the joke again, you guys heard it there. But what's when you have a vegetarian and a vegan jumping off a cliff to see who gets to the bottom first, who wins?
Society.
God. So good. We need less of these like weirdo vegans. My buddy used to tell me that the difference between like people on the right and people on the left is the willingness to universalize your opinion. And I do think this is something to walk away and think about. If you're on the left and you want to be a vegan, you think everybody needs to be a vegan. But if you're on the right and like let's say you're not a gun owner, you're like, yeah, I just don't own guns, but like anybody else can. That's just my opinion. There's a big difference there between the individual and the collective mentality. And so anyhow, this kid gets it. Good for him. All right, we're going to wrap this sucker up. Any parting thoughts? What do you guys have coming up on the American Radicals? And what do you have coming up, I guess, tomorrow?
Yeah, American Radicals podcast. Be sure to check us out on Rumble, rumble.com/amradpod. Yesterday was kind of off topic for us because we did some good news. But tomorrow we're going to be talking about some economic news and where things currently stand. And spoiler, it ain't good. So we'll give you the facts there. That's always the promise that Garrett and I like to bring the black pills, but the audience seems to appreciate it. Join in on us noontime at Rumble, rumble.com/amradpod.
And I also want to thank my special guest, Kamala Harris, Steve Friend. Thanks for joining us, Kamala Harris, Steve Friend.
Have a great weekend.
All right, guys. Okay, that's where we're at. Thanks so much for joining us for the show, and I hope you guys will join us over on Locals as well. We've actually started building this thing up. I had a really cool meeting with the folks from Locals the other day. If you guys go to KyleSerafin.com, you will now see when you join, you have the opportunity to do 2 months for free, which is really cool. You can set up for an annual membership instead of the monthly if you guys want to do such a thing, and come join us over there. You can always join it for free. You can always kind of be a lurker in the background and keep an eye on what we're up to and see what's going on. But if you want to be able to participate in some of the behind the scenes stuff, and if you want to comment and you want to be able to interact with the community, it's at KyleSerafin.com. You got to be a member, and we're going to do some fun stuff over there. The Suspendables and I have been talking, so I don't want to tip my hand too soon. We'll see you guys again after the weekend. God bless you. Have fun. Get off social media. Get off all the garbage. Go play with your kids. And it's Labor Day weekend, so I'm going to take this commie holiday off. I never do that, but I am going to take the commie holiday off. I'm going to be off on Monday because I've had just too much of this political cycle for at least one extra day. We're going to go do some fun stuff with the kids. So I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Until then, be safe.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.